advanced tier modules. In this session, we are talking about legacy. Now, when we're talking about legacy, we are obviously focusing on the lower region of the face. And this time, we are going to deep dive on the shapes and features of the mouth, the shapes and features of the interior of the mouth, which are the teeth, and then the philtrum. So this entire area primarily focuses on the later part of a person's life. That's why it's called legacy. So mostly in face reading, there are the three regions: the upper region, which is the forehead, then the middle region, which is the eyebrows all the way to the nose, and the lower region, which is from the bottom of the nose all the way to the bottom of the chin. So we are focusing on the lower region, and so the lower region actually represents towards our senior age, and usually that is the age where we leave behind our legacy, and or maybe it represents our senior age, whether we are comfortable or whether or not we're going to have a luxurious or peaceful or healthy life. Or it also represents our legacy is how we communicate ourselves, our expression, and the impact we make to the world. So the mouth, the teeth, the philtrum talks about these things. The mouth, for example, talks about our communication, our ability to connect with, our ability to influence someone. The teeth represents the trustworthiness, whether or not our words are trusted, whether or not sometimes, we give the impression of whether someone has credibility or not. So it's through the teeth. And then the philtrum talks about our stamina, our charisma, our invisible force that influences somebody. So this these sections of our face talks about our senior age, and I like to summarize this in one word, and that's called legacy. So we are going to focus on these three parts in detail. Let's begin with the first one, the mouth. Now, in our basic modules, we've already discussed several features of the mouth, but not really into the deeper levels of, how the shapes of the mouth have an influence over people. So I'm going to deep dive into this subject right now. So what I need you to do in order to follow this program is to have, photos of all your friends, of course, and all your face reading specimens ready. Okay, of course, you can set this up on your iPad, save it on the notes, so they can write some notes at the bottom, and maybe zoom in just to the mouth section of that face. Okay, so let's begin. Now, the easiest to see, the first part are the big mouth. Okay, so now first of all, how do we know the mouth is big? Well, generally, when you look at someone, the main attraction feature or the main feature that comes to mind is the size of the mouth. Now, how do we see a mouth is large or small? Generally, there are some measurement, points. Okay, so we look at the eyeballs. Okay, we look at the two eyeballs, and we draw a line vertically down. And if the mouth is extended beyond that line, that's considered a large mouth. Okay, so here is another example. One look at the front of the face. Clearly, you can see now, even without a big smile, you could see that this mouth is rather large. So, now, generally, the bigger the mouth, the more influential someone is, or the ability to connect with people is usually better, because generally, the bigger the mouth, the more person comes across as being gentle, more trustworthy, and honest. Okay? Usually people with bigger mouth are those that at their senior age, they will enjoy a much better or prosperous life. So big mouth is good. There are a few things on the face reading that usually a larger size has better capacity over a smaller size. Okay. For example, you would like the mouth to be bigger and the ears to be bigger. Okay, the ears to be bigger generally represents healthier, better immune system, and longer life. Okay, the mouth is big, better legacy. Okay, it also means that the older that you get, the more well connected and the better your quality of life is. Now, opposite of this would be the extreme small mouth. Now, how do we see a small mouth? Quite simply, first of all, use your judgment on first look. When you look at the face on the first impression, does it look small to you? Well, how do we know it's small? Well, if you look at the nose, if it's almost the same length of the nose, then it is considered small. Okay? Previously, you look at the eyeballs, the mouth was beyond that line. Okay, now it's almost the length of the nose. Therefore, it's considered small. Have a look at this. Okay, so you see the nose is considered a small mouth. Now, smaller the mouth generally are not too ambitious. Firstly, they're not bad unless the lips shape are bad. Lips shape are not so good. Later on you will learn what is not so good. Denotes their character is nasty. They will say things to hurt others. But small mouth alone doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they are generally more sympathetic in nature, or may not be able to speak out and be so joyous as opposed to the bigger mouth. The bigger mouth likes to, communicate, talk, become friends with other people. The smaller mouth, they keep things to themselves and don't want to communicate so much. They're still smart and they think a lot, but they just don't talk a lot. Yeah, and also they're more low key. The bigger the mouth, they can be more in the open and they attract attention. The smaller the mouth, they don't do that. Okay, and generally they don't want the reward. Therefore, they don't want to sacrifice either. Okay, smaller mouth. You have to be careful of one thing, yeah, because the nose represents the earth. Earth counters water, and water is weak because mouth represents water. Usually people with smaller mouth eventually might develop stomach-related problems, maybe digestive issues, may at extreme cases, maybe stomach-related ulcers or cancer. So you got to be very careful with that. So because this is water element, so water represents communication and connection. Therefore, when it's too small, then communication is not the main thing of this person. Now, the mouth, large or small, the lips can be thick or thin. So, large mouth can have thin lips, or a large mouth can have thick lips. Can you see my point here? So, therefore, we have to understand what does the lips govern. So, remember, in advanced level face reading, you got to stack different types of features together to form a meaning. So, the thinner the lips, the faster someone talks, okay? Or the quicker or wittier the thinking. So normally we look at people who can talk fast and quick and return fire to someone's insults or comments. Usually those with slightly thinner lips. Okay, they're able to improvise, right? Their thoughts, improvise their thinking. So and they're good at arguing with facts or semi-true facts. Okay, so therefore the thinner the lips, the more we say, they are able to turn white lies into their arguments, okay? They are able to use a little bit of white lies, a little bit of flattery, so now, those days, they don't like thin lips. They say thin lips are liars. I don't think so. Thin lips are able to sweet talk, okay? Thin lips are able to put something that is factually bad and say it in a way that you don't think it's so bad, okay? So they know how to sugarcoat. They have the ability to somehow practice reality distortion, okay? They are able to say something in a way that you could accept easier. They are persuasive in many ways. So some people say, if they're persuasive, they're lying. Okay, well, persuasive is different than lying. Okay, these are people who are able to use words in a more effective way than those who have basically thicker lips. Okay, so the thinner lips people are generally those who talk more and talk fast. So this is one example. Here's another example. As you can see, thinner lips are these are a bigger mouth with thinner lips. So big is good, as you know, and now with thinner lips then they can talk, so which is good. So opposite of this are the thick lips, okay? So thick lips, generally you can see the upper and lower is thick. You clearly can see it is thick. Now this is rather average sort of thick, okay? This is thicker, big mouth and thicker. And here, this one is clearly you could see the whole mouth is the lips is extra thick. Now, the thicker the lips, the more they are not so good at expressing themselves. Okay, or maybe they can say it, but they can't sugarcoat it as good as the ones who are thinner lips. Okay, the old books describe people with thicker lips as those who are more honest and who are more sincere, and so they like these guys. Okay. But then again, if it's overly thick, sometimes they're not so tactful in their ways of speech. So if you want to convince and persuade, and they're not so tactful with words, they can be kind and generous, but if you're not tactful with words, maybe it's not so easy for you to actually do a sales job or be influenced be in a position where you need to influence other people, okay? So because of their overly kind nature. So these are good hard workers, okay? They make honest living. They're nice people, okay? Thick lips. Usually, let's say, here in Asia, sometimes they have domestic workers. Sometimes we're looking for nannies, for example. One of the things you want to look at is thick lips. If they're thick lips, they are kind, okay? Thick lips belong to kind people, so they will take care of your kids. They will not abuse them. You see a thin-lipped person, well, they will sweet talk you, okay? They will sweet talk the kid, and then if they couple with very strong, protruding eyes, for example, or a very strong protruding eyebrow bone, and thin lips, and they're taking care of your baby, then you gotta be a little bit careful, as they might be, telling you some lies, or maybe they might distort the truth. Generally will give you a hard time, okay? The thicker lips are the ones that, if you want a gentle and nice nanny type of person, those are the ones with thick lips. Now, important for you to understand that lips should be balanced. Whether they're thick upper and lower, that's called a balanced lips. If they're thin, then upper and lower must be thin at the same time. Balance means they're exactly the same. Upper and lower, same size, okay? As you can see, the upper and lower are exactly the same. They are called balance. Balance basically means that they follow rules, okay? They follow the rules. They're neither too emotional or sentimental. They're neither too driven by, logic. They know how to balance the two. So they treat people fairly. They say things that are fair. That's why you want balanced lips, okay? So normally, how do you know someone is fair? Look at the lips. Upper and lower that are same thickness generally belong to someone who say things that are fair, and they won't talk behind your back. Now, once it is imbalanced, when they're imbalanced, they might be skewed towards, maybe sometimes they may say things that help only people that they like, or sometimes they might distort the truth, even though they know that the situation is not like that, but they might emphasize certain points glaringly, just so that they use that to persuade you to their thoughts. So the upper and lower lip should be balanced to denote whether they say something that is fair. If it is not balanced, like as in the upper is thicker, lower is thinner, then they could be driven a lot by emotions. And if emotions feel that you are wrong, then they will say a lot of things that to probably put you down or make you feel bad. Or if they feel that this situation requires them to distort some of the information to emphasize a certain point and reduce the impact of another point, just so that you could influence you to think that way, they will say it the moment the lips are not exactly balanced, okay? So remember, balanced lips, fair person. Next, we have the round mouth. Now, the round mouth, if you look at the picture here, it looks like a circle, okay? It looks, well, almost like a circle, more like an egg actually. It looks like a circle, roundish. As you can see here from the frontal picture here, it looks round. Now, round mouth generally are people who are, in Chinese we say 天真. In English it basically means naive, but people don't like to be seen to be naive. Well, you can say that they are probably more simple-minded. Generally, when someone is simple-minded, they don't always get to, optimize all the opportunities that come in their lives. And so, round mouth also belong to people who are usually not so courageous. I don't like to use the word coward, but they're easily scared, right? So you find that people with round mouth, if you scold them, they might cry, or they might say, I don't get involved, please don't attack me, I'm okay. They're less likely to attain success because they are fearful, okay? They're scared to say the wrong thing. They're a little bit naive about how things work. Therefore, success doesn't usually come in so easily in their life, okay? But then again, they're also not going to work extra hard to get it in the first place, yeah? So they're okay. So round mouth is like the innocent type of people. You feel that they're innocent, and the reason why they can succeed is because other people, hey, you're such a nice person, here, I'll give you some bonus or help you out here. But other than that, they probably are not the ones that will, say something or do something just to get to where they want to be, because they don't have that drive in the first place. Now, what you need to watch out for are the slanting lips. Now, slanting lips basically indicates that the lips, it's skewed towards one side. And now, sometimes the lips are not skewed towards one side, but when they talk, their lips seem to move one side. Okay? The lips I mean, when they talk, they move one side, okay? Now, when we talk, we're supposed to be balanced, right? But sometimes when we talk, they have a slight movement towards one side. That's also considered a subtle slanting lips. And you got to be careful of the subtle slanting lips, and it reflects the subconscious of a person. Now, this is obvious slanting, okay? But we got to be careful of the non-obvious slanting. The moment the lips slant to one side, it talks about a rather biased and unreasonable nature. Not particularly bad. They just bias towards certain things. They could be, maybe in a relationship, they dominate the husband and they say, you can't call your mother. I don't want you to call your mother because they give a reason like, oh, your mom is going to influence you bad. Okay, and then somehow the husband listens to her, for example. Okay, I'm just using an extreme case here. Or she will say, you know what, you're not supposed to go out at night at this time, you might catch a cold, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's just unreasonable. Okay, you can't go out with your friends because your friends are bad influence, for example. Okay, so a slanting lips or slightly slanted lips might be unreasonable, but they have double standards. Their actions don't actually meet their intentions. Okay. They are possibly lack of self-awareness, and that's the reason why it is like that, okay? And they have bad temper. The moment they're slanting lips, because lips represents water, and because water is imbalanced, temper will always be bad, okay? Now, the issue is not those that are obviously slanting. The issues are with those who are not obviously slanting. So when they talk and they move, to the one side, right? Either this side or that side, or when they smile, their lips move one side, that is considered a true slanting mouth. A true slanting mouth, you have to take note that these are the people that could harbor ill intentions. Maybe they are not doing this purposefully, but somehow when they see something that they could distort, just for the fun of it, they might distort the truth or might distort information just so that you won't get on par with them. For example, the nature of that person is like that. They want to win, and they want to win by moving the carpet below you, for example. So take note of the people when they talk and their mouth slant. This is sometimes, is trying to read the psychology behind that person. Now, sometimes there are lines on top of the lips. Now, you see, when the lines appear on top of the lips, usually some older senior people will lines appear like this. Okay, not everyone has that. Now, if you see this in a prior to 50 years old, then you have this, then this is not a very good indication. Even so, when you're older and you have this is considered what we call the loneliness lines. Okay, lines that are on top of the lips like this are considered what they call in face reading heart-shaped lines. And what are heart-shaped lines? It means that even at a senior age, the person still has to work, and it causes a lot of stress, worry about finance, and worry about issues, a lot of problems and stuff to do. So generally, this is not a good type of lines to appear on top of the mouth, okay? So it's also an indication of loneliness in old age. So people who live alone, don't have family, or have family but can't connect with them, usually have lines that are like this, okay? So this is one indication. Here's another example, as you can see, all right? It doesn't have to be a lot of lines. It's just a few. It's still considered lines on the lips. So on top, not on the lips. It's above or below, okay? These lines, not on the lips. So a lot of people think they're on the lips. On the lips is good. Above or below, on top or below, that's no good. Next are the protruding upper lips. Now, let's have a look at the picture. So these lips are the upper lip protrude. Now, the upper lips generally governs sentimental aspects of a person's life. So the person places more importance on sentimental aspects of their life. So a candlelight dinner, for example, the sensual side of a relationship, very touching words, or maybe a very nice, well-written birthday card, or a nice birthday message will appeal to this person. So protruding upper lips is the lips above as you can see here, slightly overlaps the lower lip this way, okay? Now, if it protrudes a lot, then it's the upper teeth biting lower teeth is different. I'm talking about the lips alone, this, like this, okay? Just the lips above the lower lips. And you see a feature like this, usually we are looking at someone who values sentimental aspects of life more important than material aspects of life. So I think you don't really have to buy too many diamond rings or Birkin bags and stuff like that, but nice words, right? Sensual words, or words that touch the heart, or bring them to nice places, bring her to nice places, bring him to places where you can express your love and remember a certain moment in time. That is very important. Now, if you're looking at a protruding lower lip, on the other hand, the lower lips generally refer to lust. Okay, now I'm not saying that everyone with a protruding lower lip will be lustful, but slightly higher sex drive than those with a upper lip. The upper lip will be more interested in the sensual side, the intellectual side of the relationships. The lower lip that is extremely protruding like this, okay, like you could see the lower lip protrudes a bit more, or sometimes even biting up to the upper lip. You're looking at someone who basically more driven by physical attraction, as you can see from here, for example. Right? Sometimes they say they're hornier. However, the word to use is basically they are more physical relationships are more important. However, if they are extremely protruding, not just a little bit, this is a little bit. If it's a very protruding, you're probably looking at someone who is a strong personality, but generally lonelier, or they are the worrying and sensitive type of nature, selfish, okay? People who are extremely protruding, okay? Very, very protruding. They are generally more selfish or self-centered than those who have balanced lips. So people with a protruding lower lip like this, for example, this is just slightly, okay? So this is not a lot. If it's extremely protruding, then they are considered more selfish, and they need to learn to socialize and give more to other people instead of thinking of oneself. If it's just a little bit, then it's not a big deal. Generally, this person might have a stronger sex drive. Now, listen, thicker and protruding are two different things, okay? This is considered protruding. Sometimes it's the lower lip thicker but not protruding. I need you to pay attention to the details here. Protruding is when you draw a line, this comes out. But thicker means it's exactly the same, but the lower lips is thicker. Okay? If just the lower lip is thicker, the sexual desire is stronger. Does not mean that person is selfish. If it is protruding, it may not be thicker. It can be thin and still protruding. Then you're looking at someone who is a bit more self-centered than the rest of the people. Now, sometimes the lips will have dropping lines from the corner. Let me show you. Can you see? From the lips, there are lines that drop from the corner like this. It most makes it look like the mouth, looks like a puppet's mouth. Now, here's another example. Okay, now these are not great lines because they are broken. So, when the lines are this way, this is called unbroken. This is called broken. Broken means it's bad, okay? Unbroken is good. Now, good for what? These are lines that are considered longevity lines. You have this, then your laughter lines may not need to be long because this represents the extension. But a person goes through maybe an important surgery or pretty serious surgery and then survive and then they live long. That's the effect of a dropping line from the lips. And it's usually belonging to people who have very high authority and they're considered confident, strong, authoritative, powerful, but not so, the impression that they give people is there are some people that are not so approachable, okay? And usually they are not so approachable. And usually people who are on top, and as they say, it's lonely at the top. So maybe their personality is too powerful or too authoritative, therefore they have very few confidants in their life. Okay, so these lines are generally good because they do represent high position, power and respect. Now, just that if they are broken like this, then that quality of the good nature that I'll talk about is lower, and also because the mouth represents water, and you have lines like this, that means the leakages of water, you have to take note of bladder issues, and water clash with fire, you gotta check with heart-related problems as well. Now, sometimes the mouth can be considered the revealing mouth. What is a revealing mouth? The mouth that cannot close. So somehow the mouth, it's somewhat open even if the person tries to close it. For example, like this. Okay, now you may say sometimes the teeth that's protruding, whatever it is, that the mouth doesn't close 100%. You're looking at someone that is rash and a little bit impatient. However, despite that, they still cannot capitalize on the opportunities that come their way. And sometimes they waste too many good opportunities that come their way, especially when they're younger and inexperienced. And it's harder to accumulate wealth because they may get it, but then they say the wrong things, and then they let go of the opportunities, or they lost the opportunities as a result of what they say. So you got to take note of mouth that cannot close. Mouth that cannot close generally are not very good at keeping secrets either. Let's look at the curved bowl or crescent moon mouth. What would be a crescent moon mouth? So which means it looks a little bit like a crescent moon, okay, because it's, all you can say is a smiling mouth. A crescent moon or a smiling mouth belongs to people who generally are optimistic and they say positive things. They are very good at cheering up other people. They are able to motivate. They are not petty when they talk. You know, they are usually generous with positive words. Basically, they are happier. Okay, we like mouths that are like this. This is a crescent moon is usually for lady. Okay, for a guy, it's called the smiling mouth. Okay, the smiling mouth basically is someone who is positive, and positive people say things that uplifts. So when you talk to them, they're not lying to you. Somebody say, you know, I don't like all this positive shit. They're lying to me all the time. No, I'm talking about people who knows how to cheer you up by looking and saying things that are glaringly positive about you, but you don't see it about yourself, so they uplift. And this makes good leaders and great friends to have. Now, opposite of this are called the reverse boat mouth, which means the unsmiling or the grumpy mouth. If you look at this, right, can you see? This is like a reverse boat. The mouth somewhat goes downwards. Can you see? Look at the line. You look at the line, you know, okay? It's like a bowl that's facing upwards and shooting right back into the nose. Okay, can you see that? This is a reverse boat mouth. Can you see that? It's like this. Now, this type of mouth belongs to people who are smart. However, they are somewhat considered arrogant. They don't like to be generous with kind words, or they will tell you they don't like to sugarcoat their words, but truly what they really talk about is they're good at criticizing. They're good at looking at what can go wrong, and then they'll say it. And so they don't make very good friends, and they don't compromise their principles at all. And sometimes they're considered highly principled. This is my principle, and I will not compromise. I will not say it. And sometimes you want to get an apology from people like that, it's very difficult. The smiling mouth, no problem. If an apology makes you happy, they'll just gladly say it. But a mouth that looks like this, generally they're tight-lipped. So they are able to withstand a lot of pressure and still not be able to, you know, say the things you want to hear, right? So they have the courage to be able to go through a lot of hardship and pain, and maybe they don't even reveal their secrets or bend their principles. So it depends on what you deem is right or wrong. I don't think which mouth is better than the other, right? If you're looking at someone who are principle-centered but not very friendly, then maybe it's mouth like that. But if you want someone who's friendly, is able to bend their principles and accommodate you, then you look at the smiling mouth. So people with mouth like this can probably end up to be a very high-ranking, respectable leader in an organization, or even in a political world. I mean, statesmen, for example, they need to do what is right. And sometimes being a leader, you need to do what is right. Your right decision might not be very popular. And so their mouth could be like that, calling a spade a spade. That's the nature of a reverse boat mouth. However, if the reverse boat mouth is very bended or very extreme, then you're looking at someone that could also be very stingy. Stingy with words, stingy with the expression of love. They won't be so generous in terms of their emotions and or even time, or even they might criticize you. If someone don't even care to criticize you, they don't care. That's what it is. Now next we have the blowing fire mouth. A blowing fire mouth is like almost the mouth somewhat looks like it is protruding outwards, as if it's almost reaching out to blow a candle. So that's called a blowing fire mouth. And there's a saying in the text, 口如吹火, 萬年孤單獨坐. Mouth like blowing fire, it means that the person at the old age will be extremely lonely and unable to have people supporting him or her. We don't like blowing fire mouth. Okay, see, this is another picture of a blowing fire mouth. A blowing fire is basically, somewhat protruding outwards. Is like almost blowing a candle. Now, mouths that looks like this are basically upper and lower lips protrude at the same time. That's why they get a feature like this. Somehow or rather, they get into arguments with their family. They get into arguments with their friends. They don't communicate so well. They're quite petty on small things, like little things annoy them. They are picky on stuff, and sometimes they're prone to create disputes. Right? So they always think, how come I always get into a situation of argument? I don't like argument, I don't like drama, but yet they are the ones that created the drama in the first place. So they are opinionated, but the problem is their opinions are not usually correct in the first place. And therefore they actually cause arguments and disputes. And if they want to achieve a higher position in their career, and if the mouth is good, now a blowing fire mouth doesn't mean it's a bad mouth. A blowing fire mouth can be a large mouth. Blowing fire mouth that can close is still able to achieve success. Blowing fire mouth that cannot close is because the teeth exposed and the teeth is no good, then that person can be poor because communication is poor. But if you're a blowing fire mouth, basically if you look like this, it can close tightly, but it's just protruding, then the person can still achieve high levels of success despite offending a lot of people. Now next you have the one character mouth. What is a one character mouth? Basically is the lips, if you look at the line when they close, it forms a single line, and that line is really straight. It's one character. And here's another example of a one character mouth. Now the one character basically, it's a little bit thin, the lips thin so they can talk, but it's considered a sharpshooter, quick-witted, sometimes appears a bit cold because the things they say sometimes don't give a shit about how other people feel. However, they are quite honest in their opinion, and they're able to debate well, practical in what they talk about, but sometimes because they're so blunt, their relationship with other people is not so great. Okay? It's like basically if they see their girlfriend is fat, they'll just say she's fat, and she'll not say, oh, you're big bone, you look alright in that dress. No, they'll say, you know what, you're fat, go and get it, do some exercise. That's what a one character mouth would be, okay? So if you understand them, they don't say it with ill intention. They just say, well, you're fat, that's a fact, alright? So that's how the one character mouth would be. And because of that, right, and you so happen to be someone who is sentimental, with thicker upper lips, for example, those words seem to be an attack on your ego and your actual spiritual self, and therefore you hate a person with a straight one character mouth. So usually if you want someone to say something that is straightforward, you look at this type of character. Now, of course, the four character mouth means, for a lot of Westerners, what does it mean by four character? It means the Chinese character, the Chinese word for number 4 is like a big square. And when you smile, you're able to see the upper and lower teeth at the same time. It's large mouth, and still see upper and lower teeth at the same time. Usually when you smile, you either see the upper teeth or you see the lower teeth. It's very hard to see the upper and lower teeth, and then you see almost all the teeth at the same time. then you're looking at what we call a 4-character mouth. This is one of the best mouths to have as well, because you're talking about someone who can enjoy longevity, enjoy great relationships, very balanced between being too straightforward and being, nice, sugar-coating, tactful with words. And sometimes they get to eat a lot of good food as well, and usually the abundance comes from other people bringing good food to them. So they enjoy a blessed, wealthy, and happy life because a lot of people take care of them. And they know how to connect well with others, form great relationships, and people remember them because of the feelings they create in other people. You see, people remember you because of how you make them feel. People don't remember you because of what you give to them. So people with this type of mouth knows how to make people feel better. People with a 1-character mouth is like, I'm sure they remember you, but it's usually for the stuff that you say that, might attack them, right? 1-character mouth is like, hey, why you're so short? You shouldn't be playing basketball. So it's like, it impacts your ego. People with a 4-character mouth, even though you're short, they won't say that you're short. You say, hey, maybe there's certain positions that are best suited for a person with your agility, okay? So they will try and look for something that more befitting for you, and because of that, it makes you feel good, then you remember them as well, okay? So the 4-character mouth is a great mouth to have. So there you go. These are all the possible mouth shapes. Now, I know there are other mouths like monkey mouth and you have tiger mouth and so forth, but those are just animal descriptions of all the mouths that I tell you. But I've included some of these in the notes for you. For example, a monkey mouth is a large mouth, protruding but thin lips. Okay, just exactly how an ape would look like, right? It's large mouth, protruding, upper and lower, but thin lips, right? So a tiger mouth would of course be larger, okay, a bit more teeth exposed and thicker lips, for example, more full, right? So, and the notes are there, but generally don't remember it by animal sign. More important that you remember the features that I tell you about. What does large mean? What does small mean? What does thin lips mean? What does thick lips mean? What is upper lip thicker and lower lip thicker, for example? What is a protruding mouth? Remember by these shapes, and you pack them together, stack it, right? The technique is called stacking. Stack it together is better than just remembering monkey or tiger and all the funny animals, right? It's harder to remember because some of you have never seen those animals before, and how can a person have a tiger looking mouth, right? So it's better to say, big, small, thin, thick, protruding, not protruding, squarish or not squarish. These are the easiest to describe. Remember, you need to practice this before we move on to the next feature. Okay guys, now it's time to talk about the teeth. So it is stated in the traditional face reading text that teeth is considered gold. Now, why do they say teeth is considered gold? Well, what it really means is teeth actually represents one's credibility and or trustworthiness. So it is whether someone is able to attract the credibility or trust that sometimes when you go out, you talk to people, the first impression that people have about you, and when you communicate with others, do you need to really over-persuade and say a lot of things? But some people, the moment you talk to them, somehow it makes you feel that you can trust them. Some people, for some reason, no matter what they say, somehow it's harder for them to actually convince you of what they're saying is truth, even though what they're saying to you is true, but because of the teeth, well, you don't look at the teeth because you know how to read them, but it felt like, somehow you don't trust that person. So that is the nature of teeth. And I want to show you how, in this section, how you could read the various types of teeth based on traditional Chinese face reading. Now, here's another piece of information before we continue. The teeth are the only areas of the face where you could actually change it through, doing some form of a braces or actually modify, okay? So, and it does affect the outcome because this is a bone structure. Usually when we do facial, cosmetic surgery to the skin structure, that doesn't change much of the actual feature because the skin or the flesh is just overlapping the bone. When you're reading face reading, primarily, we read a lot about the bone. For example, a person who has sunken eyes is because the bone, maybe the socket of eyes is larger. A high forehead is basically the bone structure is higher. Your high cheekbones, for example, is because the bone is actually higher. So the features of the face, which is flesh-based, and you change it cosmetically, it doesn't really affect the outcome. But the teeth is different. The teeth is actually the bones. So when you are changing the shape of the teeth, you actually do change the outcome. So take note. So if you find that some of these are not very good and you want to undergo some form of a change, that it will be good. It actually transforms the outcome. So this is something that you can consider, and I think it's within reasonable affordability for most people to actually make a change to the structure of the teeth. So let's begin. The first one is called the white jade teeth. Now, what can possibly be a white jade teeth, you might say? Well, white jade teeth means, you know how white jade looks like when you look at the teeth? They're naturally more beautiful, and it looks like white jade. Okay, so now of course I know you might say, hey, I can just polish my teeth and make it look white. Well, why not you do that then? But some people's teeth are just so yellow and they have shit growing on it, right? Sometimes you might wonder why people can't just, have proper hygiene, right? Oral hygiene. And if the teeth is white and clear, or they're naturally white and clear, you're looking at white jade teeth. White jade teeth belongs to people who, first of all, trustworthy, optimistic, they will have an attractive nature, makes you want to talk to them, makes you want to believe them, makes you trust them. And if they have teeth that is yellowy or some tartar that grows on it, clearly these are people that generally will not inspire trust. So one of the things that first thing we see is the whiteness of the teeth. Now, of course, you can clean them to make them look white. But if you're naturally more white, then you're looking at someone who is generally, they keep their promises as well, okay? People with teeth that is not good are people who, maybe are not so good with words, not so optimistic, and don't really keep their promises. Now, this is another version of a nice white teeth, okay? It's also good fortune to have better teeth, okay? And it's the jade needs to be, you see how balanced this is? This is called a straight and tidy set of teeth. There's no up and down. There's no in and out. Okay, there's all one straight line runs across. This is the best set of teeth to have. And of course, it represents great credibility. Teeth is basically representing credibility, mostly credibility. Now, sometimes you may have a straight setting protruding upper teeth. And what does that mean? It means this clearly overlaps the lower teeth. Can you see the lower teeth goes below and the upper teeth just sort of overlaps? Now, technically the teeth shouldn't overlap, okay? But when they do, then you have this feature. Now, this feature belongs to people who are tougher, stronger resilience, and they're known for having a stronger resilience nature. Whereas if it's straight up and down, it's not known to have a stronger resilience, yet it's still respectable. They are, again, the moment you see a straight set of teeth like this, they are reliable and trustworthy. The only difference is the persistence is stronger when it overlaps the lower teeth. Otherwise, it's quite balanced. If it overlaps, you're looking at someone who has very strong drive to succeed. Their persistence is stronger, sometimes perceived as being more stubborn. Okay? So it's again very good. It's just an extension of the white jade we're talking about. So now, of course, this is not so white jade. As you can see, it's a bit yellowy in comparison to white jade teeth. Okay? This, on the other hand, is white jade. This is not white jade. Can you see the difference? Right? This is white jade and it overlaps the bottom teeth. Okay? Now this is white jade as well, and it sort of overlaps the bottom and it protrudes out slightly to overlap the bottom. And here, it's clearer. When the mouth is open, you can see it sort of overlaps the bottom teeth. It's good. It represents someone who is perseverance and drive and can take hardship. Now, notice that good teeth should be gapless. A gapless teeth, you're looking at trustworthiness because they can keep secrets. Teeth with gaps generally people like to talk, okay? And they may not want to reveal your secrets, but they may accidentally brittle it out. Teeth with that are gapless normally belongs to people who are credible. They are knowledgeable and credible at the same time. They are considered intelligent people, okay? So for some reason, when the teeth has like more gaps, somehow we are talking about people who, well, even though they might be knowledgeable, but people don't believe your knowledge. Strange reason like that, okay? Take note of this. Gapless teeth are always better. Okay. Now, of course, opposite this will be the untidy set of teeth. Untidy means there's ups and downs and not in a straight row, and then there are many gaps. Okay, for example, this is considered untidy. You're looking at someone who has a personality that's not so refined, might be hypocritical of what they say, because what they say and what they do is not consistent. You're looking at someone that can possibly be distorting the truth, or maybe sugarcoating too much, or they left out important things they should say and then they didn't say it. And it's hard to, even though you're friends with them, it's hard to trust, some of their credibility. You might like their personality, but you don't trust their words. That's when you see gaps in teeth like this, okay? Now, I know what you'll be saying. What if I got an accident and my teeth becomes like that? Well, you can fix it, right? Then fix it. If you don't fix it, then it becomes gaps on teeth, and then somehow or other people start losing confidence in what you say and what you mean. Now, so you see that? This is again an untidy set of teeth with a lot of gaps in between. See, there's a gap here, there's gaps right here. Okay, this is not a good set of teeth. If you can, try and fix it. This will be representing a lot to do with your credibility, or with your words and your personality. Now, let's take a look at the front teeth. The front teeth, sometimes, well, generally they are bigger, okay? Huge front teeth. So, now, if it's overly huge, what I'm saying is if it's overly huge for guys, usually they are always troubled by girls, okay? So, they always have a female problem with guys with this. Like, females, on the other hand, are considered lucky to have bigger front teeth. They are very attractive and blessed with many good relationships, and when they find the right one, they will have many descendants as well. But guys with overly huge front teeth, huge, even though they're straight, sometimes have women problems. Okay, I don't know whether it's a bad problem, but it's still a problem. Okay, so you can see here, all right, this is not overly large. They just consider it large. For a lady to have this, it's considered good. Okay, now, the rat front teeth with a gap. So basically, if it looks like this is called the rat front teeth. You know how rats are? They have two front teeth that's big, and sometimes there's a gap in between. So they call it the rat teeth, okay? If you have rat teeth, then the later stages, as in your 60s, will be quite sorrowful in your life, a bit painful, problematic, or you might feel frustrated, or a bit more, you suffer because you felt that you can't control the circumstances in your life. So generally, it's not considered a good sign. It's considered a sign of loneliness or misfortune in old age. Now, this again, now, if it is not rat teeth needs to be long. If it's not long, it's not rat teeth. It's just gap in the teeth. Gap here can denote parents are separated, because anything that comes in the pair can represent relationships. So in this case here, bones are ancestral. Therefore, it represents older generation, or younger generation descendants. So here is either, generally, with a gap like this, it can represent that your parents are separated or maybe brought up by a single parent, for example, or you're only particularly closer to one parent. Okay? So this is, again, not rat teeth. It's just a gap between the teeth. But this is too many gaps. Too many gaps, again, not good for credibility. Now, the whole set of teeth can be sloping or slanting inward. Like this, can you see it's going inward. Here again, it's going inward. So, teeth that goes inwards generally makes poor judgments, okay? These are people who are not so great at making judgments. They're easily influenced influenced by peers or the surrounding environment at that time. And for guys with teeth like this, generally they are more indecisive and sometimes even lack masculinity. Okay, so inward teeth are basically people who are timid inside. On the other hand, outward moving teeth are generally people who are more outward going, and they somehow can make faster, not always better, but faster judgments. So outward is slightly better than going inward. Going inwards basically is a bit timid, okay, when you look at it. So you see here, it's going inwards. For ladies who have inward going teeth, it's a bit different. Ladies with inward going teeth are conservative. They're not bad. They don't make bad judgments. They're just more conservative. They're more careful. Their character is more branded as those who are careful. Now, next we have the overlapping teeth. Overlapping means one teeth grow on top of another. That's the overlapping teeth. Now, as you know, bones represents ancestors and or superiors and or older generation. The teeth here that overlaps means there's lack of support from parents and or noblemen. So, for some reason, let's say all the kids have parent support except for the one with teeth like this. For some reason, the parents or your seniors in the family somehow find it hard to support this one particular child. Okay, so you gotta take note of teeth that are overlapping. They receive very little assistance from others. Then you have the gummy smile. What is a gummy smile? A gummy smile is when you smile, you could see the gums. Now, normally when you can see the gums are people who like to talk a lot. Okay, so, well, talking a lot is not an offense. The question is whether you talk a lot and can be revealing other people's secrets. People who are speakers, for example, might have teeth like this because they talk a lot. They talk to survive, right? Talk to make a living. But if your teeth are not balanced with gaps and you have exposing gums, then you're someone that might be revealing too much of other people's secrets unknowingly or might offend other people. Straight teeth, even though exposed gums, they are great because you talk a lot, but yet you have credibility. But gappy teeth or untidy teeth with the protruding or exposed gums, those are normally considered those who talk without thinking and might even offend other people. So here's another version. Now this is more straight, as you can see, comparing with this. So this one will have credibility issue because they talk too much. This one talks a lot, but still able to maintain credibility. Now for some people, the teeth are particularly very small, okay? And you can see here, like they look really small on a large mouth. As you can see here, these are like somewhat smaller than other people, are people who are very cautious and they are introverted by nature, okay? People who are quite hard-headed and opinionated, but then they are not the ones that will argue with you. They just keep quiet. And they are planners, they're meticulous. Small teeth means they are meticulous, and they always protect themselves first before helping others. They are the ones that probably invented, the ones, if you're on a plane in emergency, please pull the oxygen mask to yourself before to the kid. These are the people that does that. And so they are suitable to do jobs that are meticulous and planning, just in case shit happens, what do? They are the ones that can protect you first. So small teeth, meticulous nature, remember that. Now, your teeth might be sharp. Now, look at sharpness of the teeth, right? Sometimes some of the teeth looks a bit more pointy than the others. So sharp teeth belongs to people who are impatient, sometimes violent, and also slightly cunning. The sharper the teeth, the more cunning they are. And money comes and goes all the time for people like this. And they are those who sometimes will be able to take advantage of other people in order to step ahead, to step above and climb the ladder faster. So be a little bit concerned with people with sharp teeth. Now, then you have tiger teeth. Tiger teeth is everything is square except for the two corners, okay? You know how tigers are? It's the fangs, okay? I don't like to call it fangs, but it looks like fangs. A little bit sharp. This one is particularly longer and sharper. So when you see a person's teeth that has that feature, you're looking at someone who is like a tiger, like to go out adventurous. They are the hunter type. They go out and seek a goal and conquer it. They have sometimes unrealistic thoughts, right? Because tiger is hunting and they want to find a big goal and they want to get the big hunt, for example. So they excel in an environment where it is challenging, and they are able to succeed, usually in an environment where there's a lot of pressure, and they excel in building a social circle, a following, or a culture. They are able to do that. However, tigers are prone to traps, so you got to be careful of people trapping you if you are a person with tiger teeth. Okay, here's another version of tiger fangs. So there you go. These are all the features of teeth in a person's face. Be sure to review them. Remember, you got to stack the meaning. And generally, the teeth are the easiest to remember because teeth represents credibility. And so whether someone believes you, whether someone sees you as someone that's truly knowledgeable, someone who is worthy of trust, it all depends on the teeth. And remember, the teeth is the only feature on the face that actually can be fixed and will affect your actual overall outcome. So if you have an opportunity to fix it, to become the white jade, straight and neat, why not you do that? It will have an impact. In this session, we're going to talk about the philtrum. Now, the philtrum, it's one of the most important feature for your second part of your life. Now, I want you to see the life palace represents your overall destiny, okay? Whether a person is optimistic, whether the person has vision about the future, whether someone will succeed in life or not. We look at the life palace, right? So life palace. Now the second life palace, the backup life palace on a person's face is actually the philtrum. The philtrum is similar to the life palace of your second half of your life. So the second half of your life begins after 50. So we use 50 as the demarcation point. So if the philtrum is good, it can compensate a not so great mouth and a not so great chin. Because the philtrum is like the life palace of your senior age. Therefore, it is extremely important. So when we study the philtrum, we look at whether someone has fighting spirit, whether someone has the zest to succeed in life or not. The life palace represents the vision, but some people has a vision but no energy. So the philtrum is the energy, it's the soul towards your the life, right? So you might say you want to create an empire. You want to, doesn't mean you will do it. Will you do it or not? Well, let's see whether your philtrum is deep enough or has the strength to give you that energy to help you succeed. So a weak philtrum together with a great life palace is basically someone who daydreams. Because, yeah, I want to do something, but, probably I won't do it. Or if you're looking at someone who is sick and is on a deathbed, whether he or she will survive, it has a lot to do with how strong the philtrum is. The philtrum is strong, your stamina and will to live is strong, you might go through a difficult time, okay? But if the philtrum is generally weak, then if you're sick on a deathbed, then maybe this person might not be able to survive that hardship. So let's look at the various types of philtrum, shall we? The first one, easy to see, is the deep and long one. This is one of the best ones to have. So, deep and long, okay? Now, how long is long then? Long is the size of your index finger, the first section. If you can fit it all in from the end of the nose to the bottom, right at the edge, that's considered long. So, it depends on how, long is your index finger. If you're a really long index finger, then you need to have a really long philtrum. So, here's another example. This is deep and long, okay? So, when you compare, this is deeper for a guy. A lady can't have too deep, right? This is considered deep enough for the philtrum. So, someone who has that has the stamina and willpower to go through a lot of challenges in life, which is good, full of vitality and energy. A person with deep and long philtrum has vitality and energy and zest for life. So therefore, after 50 years old, the fortune becomes better, the destiny becomes better, even the children luck, the children are filial, or maybe they have grandchildren who are very good. It's prolonging your prosperity and expanding your wealth. So there's nothing bad about having a long philtrum. Now, the problem is a shallow and short philtrum. So if you look at this, like it's short as in it's shorter than the index finger, half, and it is not deep at all, shallow, okay? So the moment you have something like this, you're looking at someone who lacks the vitality and zest in life. Maybe you don't see someone who is really passionate, contradicting thoughts or lifestyle affects this person after 50 years old, and easily tired and lethargic, need to sleep a long time, and someone who you will see is, at the time, he or she will find he might have wasted half his life away and not utilizing any of the talent, and tends to be quite inconsistent in terms of their bouts of prosperity in life, okay? So this is again a short and shallow philtrum. Now, the flat philtrum is like this. It's like almost you don't have a philtrum in the first place. This is a flat philtrum. So here's another example. It's like, I don't even have a philtrum in the first place. So flat one is introverted. A person who is maybe too calm. Or you're looking at someone who is overly conservative and or cautious. Person who is quite relaxed or chill all the time. And remember, this represents zest of life. So you don't have a philtrum at all, not even a shallow one. You probably don't even have much drive in the first place. Hopefully you will not meet with any accidents in life, because when you do meet an accident in life, this type of child will say, you know what, take me. I don't want to really stay in this world. They don't want to fight, okay, without the philtrum. So the moment they're flat also can mean that they have lack of descendant luck, like no kids, no grandkids, or maybe you have kids but don't stay with them and generally lead a very lonely or difficult life at the old age. So you gotta have a philtrum. It's like saying you gotta have a life palace. Now, sometimes there are horizontal lines on a philtrum that goes like this. It runs across. So this is called 假養他人子. It indicates that you have brought up a child or brought up a family member that it's not blood born. Okay? So especially if you smile and you have this, maybe, now it's so common today, okay? It's just not common back in the old days, so they need to make a point out of it. But those days, in the ancient days, if you are stepmother or stepfather, is a big no-no, right? Today is okay, right? So basically this, you might have a chance of having stepsons or kids. But it also means there could be obstacles and disasters during around your 50s, early 50s especially. Could be accidents, problems, issues, or health problem. Usually health, poor health, or unstable health at that time, okay? So when the lines are like this, you're probably always worried about your children or worried about their health all the time. And be careful that line that runs across here could have gynecological or childbirth-related problems. Take note of that. Okay, so here's another example of a line that runs across the children. Okay, here's another example of a line that runs across the philtrum. Now, the lines can be vertical or it can be horizontal. So vertical line on the philtrum, this is how it looks like. So it's a line that runs across. Here's another example, the line that runs across, or many lines that runs across. Basically, life is so enduring and tiring and so many problems that you have to fix. Seems to be hard work and uphill battle all the time, and go through many hardships after many hardships. And but there's a good news. The good news is your daughters are talented. Your sons, maybe not so talented. So male or female is the same thing, okay? So that's what it means to have lines on the philtrum. Now, sometimes the philtrum is so thin that it forms a needle-shaped line, okay? Looks like this. It's like almost it's just together and it forms a needle-shaped line like this, like a needle in the philtrum. The needle in the philtrum belongs to someone who becomes more and more petty as he or she becomes older. And usually because they're so petty, even the children can't stand them, so they want to not stay with their parents. Now, I know in the West it's not a big thing. But in Asia, if the kids hate you and don't stay with you, it's a big thing. If they send you to old folks' home, it's basically not a good sign, okay? So, lines like this can also indicate possibility of not having children. So, I've seen people like this, same-sex couple, for example, they might have a needle on their philtrum, which means they can't give birth because they're same-sex, but you can adopt. So it's called an adoption line. So you could adopt kids and you will have kids. The only issue is the affinity with kids. You want them to be good, don't be petty, don't be calculative. That way, you would have no problems in terms of family relationship when you get older. Now then you might have a cross-shaped line. A cross-shaped line is like a T on your philtrum, okay? Here's another example, or just an X on your philtrum. So this denotes weak parenthood or marriage, or a problem in terms of life after 50 that cause you to move into religion, or some religious practice, and then you become celibate, for example. They might be because of that, or just to fill up the emptiness, you look for so-called. You see, don't enter into the religious path because you are lost, because that way then you might become a fanatic. You enter into religion to find additional meaning and enlightenment, to become happier than you already are. But if you are totally lost, and you're going in, and then with this you become so indulged, and all of a sudden you are so fanatical about it, and then the relationship might actually become worse, okay? Because it's out of frustration. So take note of the cross in the philtrum. It's not a very good thing, especially after 50. It might denote extreme loneliness and frustration. So next we have the narrow upper and broad lower philtrum. Okay, so basically it looks almost like a triangle, but not exactly like a triangle. So if you look like this, narrow and broad. One more time, narrow and broad, almost like a triangle. So when you see a feature like this on a philtrum, you're looking at someone who is very strong-willed, and you're looking at someone who can seriously take pain and hardship in life. And usually the wealth is not from family given. It's usually made through his or her own effort to build his or her own empire. It's tough in the middle age. There is a gap or an obstacle to cross, because remember this is 51, right? So to get through there, because it's so narrow, there seems to be a life and death or high risk situation before being able to cross to that open space. Therefore, there's a big challenge he or she need to overcome before he or she actually achieve their final success. That's what it means, okay? So, now opposite of this is broad in the upper and lower in the narrow, okay? So, which means it's like a V-shaped philtrum, okay? You might have a V-shaped philtrum like this. A V-shaped philtrum basically is someone who is very sensitive and worrying, okay? Someone who is basically don't have that much passion and not that much willpower, because they got it easy and then it becomes harder, okay? Now, it depends. If it forms a single entry, that is not a good sign, okay? That means you didn't survive that. You got it so easy and then you didn't realize you were in a trap. But to go like this and forms a second V on top of the lips, this is okay. Alright, that means that even your goals are inconsistent in the first place, you always change your mind, but primarily towards the end, you're still united to one goal, and eventually after your 50s, you still are able to succeed. Usually after 50s, it means after 55, yeah? So middle age around 50 to 51 is easy, and suddenly at 55 onwards, then it becomes a bit tougher before you achieve your success. Now, you got to take note of those that are narrow in the upper and narrow in the bottom. So you're looking at it like sort of like a lantern shape, okay? A lantern shape philtrum. You see that this is a lantern shape philtrum. So the moment you see that, you're looking at someone who are prone to physical injuries or illnesses that are long-term, that's hard to cure. Not so easy in reproduction of children, and opinions between themselves and their kids eventually are usually different. So your kids will not take over your business. That's what it means. And there could be generation gaps of communication. Okay, one more time. There could be communication problems between your kids and you and your kids and the grandparents. So this is not a good sign to have narrow top and narrow bottom. So the features like this, you got to take note of usually family-related relationships and long-term physical health issues. And next we have the crooked philtrum. A crooked philtrum means it's slanting to one side or slanting to the other side. Crooked philtrum basically are people who are very prone to be dragged into gossips, drama, problems. They always say they don't want to get involved, and yet they got involved because they are the ones that started it in the first place, or participated in the first place. So you got to be very mindful of psychological drama and problems in the first place. We don't like crooked Philtrums. And also, ladies with this, you got to be very, very, very careful with pregnancy because it actually indicates problems with the uterus. And you should check with the doctors to make sure you have this problem fixed before trying to conceive. Okay, and lastly, the black mole or a mole on the Philtrum. Now, a mole on the Philtrum, because this represents reproductive issues, big mole can represent blockage in terms of reproduction. A small mole can indicate possible of a twin or triplet. A big mole is a blockage, okay? So if a guy with a big mole on the Philtrum, that means it goes through a very big blockage or big transformation at 51. That means can be remarrying somebody or restarting a family even at that time. Remember, this is a big obstacle that is in the way, or big change, okay? So for ladies with this is your birth canal or your womb, your uterus have a problem because there's some major growth in there, okay? So do take note of big moles in the Philtrum, but a small tiny one here might actually be okay, especially if the color is good. It's light red, for example, and it's right towards the corner. It then can indicate an additional egg in your uterus. That indicates a twin, or might be a triplet, or might be a birth of a wonderful and beautiful child, or very fat and healthy, big chubby little kid. Okay, so this is the mole on the Philtrum. So there you go. We have now addressed all the possibilities for reading the Philtrum. Now again, you need to stack this. Okay, you need to stack. In fact, you need to stack the mouth, the teeth, and the Philtrum to read together, right, in order to look at someone's legacy or senior age. So remember, the mouth is the way they communicate and talk to people. The teeth represents credibility, and then the Philtrum, the vitality and the zest and the secondary life palace of a person's face. So these three add together, you are able to see the legacy that this person can leave behind, the impact that this person can leave behind, because it does represent the older age or the senior age of the person. Now, make sure that you recap this entire module. Now, I know it's been a long module. We've covered a lot of things. We're giving you additional notes on top of what we've discussed here. So read them, watch this video, and re-watch this video a couple of times before moving on to the other videos. Remember to watch this video once, twice, 3 times at least before moving on. And remember, practice makes perfect. So get photos of everyone you see, zoom into their mouth, and make notes. What type of Philtrum is this? Is it deep? Is it long? Is it wide? Is it narrow? Is it short? Does it have a mole? Is it slanting one side? Do that, make notes, practice. That's how you gain experience and mastery over face reading.